Hey everybody, I just got back from a trip to New Brunswick, which is where I'm from originally. So I'm from the Acadian Peninsula, and I visited there for 10 days. Now, unfortunately, it was sad reasons to go. Over the summer, my grandmother got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So we arranged a trip to go and say our final goodbyes. We did get to do that, saw her at the hospital. Unfortunately, she wasn't responsive once we were there. She passed away shortly after, and we also got to attend the funeral. So I'm very grateful that I got to be there for that. But you know, it was still really great to see family. And while I was there, I had the chance to go and view a few local game stores. And I was going to share today the games that I brought for my travel and the games that I've purchased while I was there and what got brought back. Now, before I get into that, like a couple of days before we left, I had a game arrive, and that is Ark Nova. So technically, it is not part of my game purchase from New Brunswick, but it arrived just before, so I figured I would add it to this pile as well. I played it at FallCon. It was amazing. The teach was brutal, took over an hour, but it was such a great game. And then honestly, he did a really good job because we didn't really have to ask very much questions after we were taught this game. It's just a very interesting, it's not really worker placement because you have the different cards that kind of assigns the different actions you can do. You're building a zoo, you have your, player board where you're going to be adding tiles, adding kind of areas that you can add animals to, but you're building a conservative zoo, so you're trying to get animals, you kind of get, promote towards, you know, maybe sending them back into the wild, different things like that. So it's a very neat game. I enjoyed it. Now that I know how to play, I figure let's get our own copy and then we can play Ark Nova at home. So that was just arrived a couple of days before I was leaving. It's not even out of shrink yet. Like I just, oh great, it's here, set it down and leave. And then I brought a few games to bring with me when traveling. So I've picked games that would be easy to play, depending on who was playing with us. And then some games that would work well with just 2 players if it was just me and Lee playing. And I also picked games that were small and easy to travel, ideally. So one of the ones that I brought is Abandon All Artichoke. This one plays up to 4 players, and it's a deck building game, but it's interesting because it's really a deck de-building game. The whole point of this is you start with 10 cards of artichoke cards, and you're trying to collect these different vegetable cards to add to your deck that's going to dilute the artichoke cards that you have, and each one's going to have different actions. Some will allow you to give out your artichokes, some may end up have to keep them, some might allow you to compost them so they trash them out of your hand. And in order to win the game, you're trying to get your deck to a point where you will draw 5 cards and none of those are artichokes. So if you do that, you win the game. Abandon All Artichokes. We did end up playing that a few times. It's just a neat game. So that was one of the ones I brought. I also brought the Builders Middle Ages. This one is a little bit more involved, a little bit more gamey, but still really small and compact. And you're hiring different workers of different skill levels, and they have like their specialty in different type of skills as well. And you're acquiring buildings that you're going to build by assigning your workers to them. And once you have enough workers that will meet the skills required to build the building, then the building gets built and you get the rewards. So you get money, and then sometimes some of these ones give you tools so that you get kind of ongoing skills that you can apply all the time without having to pay the wage of the worker. It's just a really neat game, a little bit more gamey. I really enjoy this one, so got to play that as well over the week. So that was one that I brought. I also brought L.L.A.M.A, the card game, and we did play this one quite a few times, and this one is just so easy and simple to play, but it's really satisfying as well. So you have, I believe it's 7 cards in your hand, and there's one that's flipped over, so you take turn. On your turn, you're going to have to play either a card that matches or one above the card that is there. So you would go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, llama, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So if it's a 2, you can play a 2 or a 3. If it's a 6, you can play a 6 or a L.L.A.M.A card. If you have a L.L.A.M.A card, then you can play another L.L.A.M.A card or go back to 1 and kind of start the whole rotation again. You're trying to get rid of the cards in your hand. And then when you play, so if it's a 3, then you can play a 3 or 4. If you don't have a 3 or 4, you have the option of drawing a card and adding it to your hand, or deciding to call it quits there. If you call it quits, you take the cards that are left in your hand, place them face down, and those are going to be points. You're trying to gain as little points as possible. Now, if you have multiple of one card as well, you only score it the one time. So if I had 3 3s, I could put it down and say, well, it's 3 points, not so bad. You know, if I have a L.L.A.M.A card, the L.L.A.M.A cards are worth 10, so that's a little bit less attractive to just lay down. But then if I draw another card, I'm adding more points to my hand potentially. What if I can't play them? Or if somebody goes out and play their last card, then that's it. You have to count all the cards. So it kind of has very simple but interesting decisions. And if you do manage to get rid of all your cards and you have points which are kept track by tokens, you get to put one of the tokens back. Now there's white tokens that are 1s and then black tokens are worth 10. So if you have a black token, that probably should be the one you return if you manage to get rid of all your cards. So that's Don't Llama, really fun. Another one that I brought is Oh My Goods. Oh My Goods is a little bit more gamey, and I brought that just in case I wanted something a little bit more robust to play. And this is a really neat engine building multi-use card game. I love it. I've played this one lots. We didn't end up playing this one over the week, just kind of kept with the smaller games. I also brought Bohnanza and Bohnanza Duel. I brought Bohnanza Duel just in case it was just me and Lee. We wanted to play Bohnanza. We ended up not playing it, but we did play Bohnanza a few times. And this one is just so satisfying. I really enjoy it. It has so interesting decision, and it's a little bit unusual because you get your hand of cards, but you can't sort them. And you have to play them in the order that they arrive. So the bean that is in the front is the bean you need to plant. So if you don't want to be planting that bean, you need to negotiate and trade this bean with another player. So this is like a negotiation and trading game. That's what kind of the whole mechanism is. And then you'll be planting the beans. You have up to 2 gardens, and you're trying to create as big a grouping as you can to score points. The ones that are more rare are going to be worth more coins for a smaller grouping, while some are more commons. You'll need to create a big grouping in order to be able to collect your coins from it. It's just very satisfying, so we ended up playing this one a few times. I also brought Vampire Queen. We love Vampire Queen. We play this one often. It travels well. It's just a nice card game. And it's a, what is it? It's a trick-taking game. So you're planning to play a game. So if somebody plays 3 5s and you have to play 3 cards as well, higher than 5. So then maybe I put 3 8s. And then somebody else can go and play 3 10s. And maybe somebody has to pass because they don't have 3 of a kind. Or maybe they do, but they have 4 and they don't want to break the set or whatever. So when you keep playing until somebody wins, well, you go around one time. Whoever wins the trick gets to start the next round. And you keep going that way. There's also 2 Vampire Hunter cards. And if you play a Vampire Hunter card, it has to be the first card played for that round. And everybody puts a single card in, doesn't matter the value, but whoever plays the highest card has to take all of those cards and adds them to their hand. It doesn't get discarded. And you're trying to be the first one to discard, because when somebody does discard their last card, they score 0. Everybody else has to tally up the cards they have in their hand, and they're worth points. After 5 rounds, whoever has the least amount of points wins the game. Vampire Queen, love it. So those are the games that I had packed and brought for the trip. I did end up stopping at a few game stores. The first one I went to was Le Phare Du Jeu, which was in Shippagan, which is part of my hometown area. And I went, took a bunch of pictures, and then I did purchase a few games. So I bought 6. One of them is Qui Prend, which the English version is 6 Nimmt. And this one, it doesn't matter if you have French or English, just because this is completely language independent. All the cards are numbers. And we arrived in Moncton and stayed at my aunt, and we ended up playing this with her copy. So when I saw that it was there, we ended up getting our own one, and it's a very interesting one. So everybody who plays has 10 cards. There is 4 cards set, or 4 piles of a single card to begin with, set in the middle of the table, and everybody's going to pick a card and then reveal it at the same time, and whoever has the lowest is going to place there first, and so on. And you place your card on the pile that is closest to your number, but not below your, not above your number. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. So then you add your card. If you ever add a 6 card to a pile, hence number 6 here, so whoever has a 6 card to a pile has to take all the 5 cards that were already there and then put their new card to create the new pile. All the cards you collect will have different little bull symbols on it, and you're trying to collect as little of those as possible. After 10 rounds, you tally up all of your symbols, and that's your score. And you play until somebody reaches 66, and then whoever has the lowest score is the winner. So that was 6 Qui Prend or 6 Nimmt. Great game. I'm really glad I bought that one. I also bought Botanik. I've heard a lot about this one. This is a 2-player game. It's a engine building game. Like it's a tile laying game. So you keep adding tiles. You're trying to create clusters of different colors. And then you're trying to add tiles that will have flowers that is connected to a tile that has the same color, because then you'd be able to score these flowers. What's really interesting too is the way that you pick which tile you're going to select, because you have the tiles in the middle and then the tiles on your side and the tiles on the other player's side. And you have to have something that match in the tile in the middle if you're going to put it on your side. So this one is also red, so I can put a red tile with another one that matches a tile that's also red. Or maybe it's the same shape, so then I can add that there. So you're doing that. And then you can also add tiles to the middle. So if I've placed first the tile over here, that's good because it's also red. And then I replace the middle tile with a black tile. Well, now it no longer match, so it can't stay there. And then I get to pick it up and add it to my tableau. So it's really interesting how you're kind of trying to select which tile you're going to try to match on your side of that main board, so that you can later break the pattern so that you can collect them and add them to your own tableau. It was really interesting. Really enjoyed this one. We only got to play it the one time, and that's Botanik. I also purchased a Splendor Duel. I had played Splendor Duel at a friend's birthday party, but we only got to play half the game, and it was really neat and I enjoyed it. So when I saw that it was there, I ended up purchasing my own copy. So this plays like Splendor, but it's a 2-player game. It has a slightly higher level of complexity. There's kind of neat decisions to make. You have a board, everything gets put into there in a spiral pattern. So you have all the tiles of the different gems or gold or pearl, which is added to this into this main board. And then on your turn, you will take 3 that are in a row. You cannot take one if it's a gold. A gold can only be taken if you reserve a card, and the golds are wild. You can select the pearls, but the pearls you won't come across a card that gives you pearl, but you'll have cards that requires pearl. So the only way to get those ones is to pick them from the board. And then as you take them out, they get in your hand. You only have the ability to hold on to 10 of them at a time. As you acquire the cards, that's going to give you the ability of having the gems as well, like regular Splendor. What's spent goes back into the bag. And then eventually you're going to have nothing left on your board. So you're going to have to refill the board on your turn. If you do that, the other player gets a little scroll token that gives them a special ability of something they can do, either take an extra turn. Is it just always take an extra turn? I think you get to play an extra turn. It was neat. Really enjoyed this one. Really has that Splendor feel, but a little bit more to it, and then just works well at 2-player. Well, it is a 2-player game, so great 2-player version of Splendor. Then I also bought Racco. I was so excited for this one. This is one that I've seen a lot lately. Though this is a game that's been around a long time. It's a classic, like Rummikub or Dominoes or something like that. With this one, you have cards from 1 to, now when we play 2 players, 1 to 40. So that's what we were playing, 1 to 40. And then you shuffle them and you get 10 cards handed to you. And as you receive them, you put them in order of the ones you receive. So maybe the first one you get is 37. That goes in the first, and then you add them all in. Now what you're going to do is you're going to draw a card and discard a card to replace it in this row and try to get all of your cards in numerical order from lowest to highest. And once you get them all in order, you can call Rocco and you get 75 points. Whoever hasn't got them in order yet, they get to score 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, depending on how many of them are in order. So it makes sense to try to get the smaller numbered ones in order first, because that's going to bring up your score if the other player gets them all done before you do. But it is so neat. It was so fun, so simple, but really enjoyed this one. We played this quite a few times over the week. So Rocco, great classic, and that's why it's a classic, because it's so great. Then I also purchased this one. So this is by the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective series, and it's Bureau of Investigation. And this is the Arkham Horror version of it, but it's Enquête à Arkham et autres contrées. So it's a French version of it. Now, I don't like to buy a lot of French games because most of my players do not speak French. They don't get played. This type of game, however, I tend to play by myself. You have a story that you read, and then you're trying to solve the murder. And then you have like a phone book, basically, that has the name of all the characters and their codes assigned to them. And then in your story, you'll have the book that you can kind of open up and then be like, okay, so based on the story, let's go talk to this person, find their code, flip through the book of that scenario, and then you can go and question them. That's how the Sherlock Holmes works as well. What's interesting with this one is there's 2 sets of what you can do. You can go and question them, or you can interrogate them. So the first one is just more casual, kind of, okay, so what do you know? And then we'll just tell you what you know. Then you can go and investigate. So maybe it says, oh, I'm really busy, I gotta leave. And then you go and investigate. Fine, they left, well, we're gonna go and look in their rooms. And then you kind of do the investigation. Or maybe you're getting a little bit more pushy. Yeah, this isn't gonna cut it. We need to know what's going on. And then, so there's a 2 level of how deep you wanna go. Each one kind of takes so much time. You have a different amount of time to allocate to this, or you can just go through the story for the fun of it too and take all the time that you want. Now, the reason I know all this about how the game plays is because they had a sample game that you could print and play. So I've done that one, but I haven't done any of these. So I'm excited for them. It comes with like newspapers, and one comes with like an envelope with a bunch of like different paperwork that comes with it and pictures, and I don't know, I haven't opened it all, but it looks really interesting. So Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, but horror themed. So woo, excited for this one. And then I bought, and I'm leaving this one for last year, Pont Lamèque-Shippagan, ça avance ou pas? So I'm from Lamèque Island, which is an island in the northeast peninsula of New Brunswick. And the only way to get onto this island is through the bridge from Shippagan that connects Shippagan to Lamèque. And this bridge has a big square part in the middle, and the bridge will rise up to allow the fishing boats underneath, and then it'll come back down and traffic can go again. And this is a game based on that bridge. And the box is the game. So you'll open both sides, and then you have the drawbridge with this that kind of goes up and down. Everything is in a little baggie in here, and you get your cards, and you're trying to get your cards through, and whoever gets the most cars through the bridge is accumulating so many points. But then you can add obstacle for the other players where there's a down power line, which has happened in New Brunswick before. My aunt and uncle actually were stuck on the bridge between power lines in their car for hours before, so it's just kind of interesting that this is actually accurate. Or you can bring in a boat that removes any card that's in the middle because the bridge has to go up and the bridge has to go through, or construction will slow down. It is just so neat, just because this is a game about the bridge in my hometown. Come on, that's so cool. I've discovered this summer, and we're talking about Acadian Day, and I was like, oh, is there no Acadian games? And then somebody's like, well, there's this one about like the Acadian Acadian Peninsula. So I was like, I am getting this game. So I did. We did end up playing it the one time, me and Lee. He ended up beating me. It was so cool. It's just the whole concept of it, how it's like nostalgic to my hometown. That's great. Pont Lamèque-Shippagan. Then I went to Moncton and I visited a couple of game stores there. Visited Gamezilla, and I also visited Comic Hunter, the Comic Hunter. And it was great. They both had lots of room for playing games. The Comic Hunter has computer chairs at all the tables. They have like so many comfortable big computer chairs for every gamers that attend the event there. So I was like, that's amazing. And then Gamezilla had a lot of anime content as well, like anime models, which I didn't know was a thing. Like, it was boats from one series and you would put this boat together. It had a lot of anime books and a lot of anime games. And the reason I'm bringing all the anime is because my youngest is very into the anime, so I always notice them when they're available. But while I was in Moncton, I did end up purchasing 3 games as well. So I got Dandelions. I really don't know a whole lot about this one yet. I started watching a video. From what I understand, it's a roll and move game, which, you know, that makes me think Monopoly, but I hear really good things about this one. So I'm interested in getting this one played. So we will see. And then, you know, I had heard good things, so that's why I bought it. I also bought Skull. Now, Skull is amazing. I already own Skull. This one is a gift for somebody. So when I came across it, and I knew I wanted to give this to them, so I'm not going to say who in case they watch, and then they can be surprised. But everybody gets 4 coasters. 3 of them are roses, 1 of them is a skull. And you're going to take turn putting a coaster in front of you until everybody has at least 1 coaster. And then you keep adding coasters until somebody says, okay, I bid 3. And basically they're bidding that they can flip 3 coasters without revealing a skull. They know what they've put down. They don't know what other people have put down. And they also always have to reveal all of their coasters first. So if maybe they're bidding, bluffing, hoping somebody will outbid them to 4 because they have a skull. You know, or nobody then is like, oh, great, and then you reveal. If you reveal a skull, you lose 1 of your coasters. If you don't, you get to take your big tile and flip it over. If you win twice that way, you win the game. It is so satisfying, super simple. The instructions, when you read the instruction trying to make sense of it the first time, seems complicated, but just follow it and play. It is really neat, really easy to play. And then I also purchased High Score by Rainer Knizia. And I was watching a video on that one. This one seems cool. So you have this little board where you keep track of your score. And it's a push your luck dice rolling game. So you'll flip over a card. There's 7 for each game. So that's each round. And they'll be like, okay, so if you have the swirly symbol, that is going to be worth so many points. Or it could be worth negative points. So you never know. And then be like, you have so many rerolls. So maybe you have 4 rerolls, but you have to reroll all of your dice. Or you can have up to 3 rerolls and you can reroll whatever you want, and kind of different variation of that. And then it also has like, this is how you score. So if you get, you know, pairs, you get to score those dice, and they're worth whatever the number is on them and what it allocates to the swirly one. So you would roll and be like, okay, well, I have a reroll. I'm going to try to get a higher score, and you keep track. And then whoever has the highest score gains, I think it's 3 points. And then the second place gets 2 and third place get 1. Anybody else gets nothing. And you just play the 7 round, and whoever's collected the most points is the winner. It seems silly fun, just so satisfying. Push your luck dice rolling game. I'm really looking forward to playing this one. And they're still in shrink because I actually picked these up yesterday. We got home last night, so I haven't had the chance to open them. Another thing that I'll point out is I have a new crib board. This was my grandmother's crib board. She's the one who taught me how to play crib. Everybody back home plays crib, and we actually did end up playing crib quite a few times. Actually, the day before we left, me and my cousin, we stayed at my cousin's, and we ended up playing crib and cards till 1:30 in the morning. I have just the plain crib board, so super grateful to have this one because it comes with the lid. You have the cards in here, and you have these really nice crib pegs. So I'll treasure this forever. And I'm wearing also, I had crocheted this poncho and had sent it to my grandmother as a gift. So after she passed, they gave it back to me. And so I have this poncho, which I love, and I think it looks great. And then that's why I had sent it to my grandmother, and then now it's back. So this was all the games that I took traveling to New Brunswick and the one that I took back from New Brunswick. There were other games that I wish I could have brought back, but just did not have the room in my luggage, unfortunately. Actually, I was over the weight of my luggage, but Lee's luggage was less, so she's like, we'll just call it good. So that was good, because I don't know where we would have put everything. I am interested, when you travel, do you bring any games? What would you bring if you were flying somewhere and wanted to bring small, easy games that were easy to pack? What would you bring with you? So that was my game haul from New Brunswick. Bye, everybody.